A few days ago, I received an email from a lady who participated in one of my webinars. The webinars was about becoming a standout speaker. And her question was this. She asked me, how do I begin my journey into becoming a standout communicator? I thought, and then I told her, there are three things you need to do first to become a master of the platform, whether it's a physical platform or it's an online platform. So all of us who want to become a standout speaker or communicator at some point in time need to do three things first. The first is we need to learn to trust our message. The second is to learn to trust our audiences. And the third is to learn to trust ourselves. Trust our message, our audience, and ourselves. Now, I posted that simple reply to the lady who asked me via email. And I shared that thought with another group. And they asked me one very important question. And that question is this. What is our message? What is our message? And my reply was this. That message that you need to trust, it is called your message to the world. Now today I'd like to invite you to discover with me, or simply rediscover, or simply restate what that message to the world is. When people ask me, what is that really all about? Here's my answer. You know that that is your message to the world because it is a simple, clear statement that you believe and you feel that the people who matter to your life and to your business should hear, understand, and never forget. You believe they should hear it, understand it, and never forget it because it will impact their lives, make their lives better, protect it, or even save it. So today, let's talk about your message to the world. Let's talk about why it matters, how do you discover, uncover, and draft your message to the world, and then how do you use that message in life and in business. So at this point, let me just give you first an example of how does a message to the world look like and sound like, and who are the people who we know have delivered a powerful message to the world. Let me show you. Would you remember who she is? She is a Netflix star. And her name is Marie Kondo. What comes to mind when you hear the word Marie Kondo? I am sure that 90% of you would say that what comes to mind is that one single word that today has served as her powerful message to the world. When you hear that word, automatically, you remember the name Marie Kondo, Netflix superstar. And you remember what that message to the world is? This was it. Her call to the world was declutter. So your message to the world is a call to action. It is something that you want the world, and we will define the world, or what the world means in a little while. It is what you want the world to do, to have, or to be or become. Your message to the world, like Marie Kondo's, is a statement where you convey what you want them to do, to have, or to be or to become. So that's Marie Kondo. Let me show you another person who gave a powerful message to the world and has affected lives of millions. Would you remember this personality? So when you hear the word River Jordan, whose name comes to mind? Yes, his name is John the Baptist. He was the person who baptized Jesus Christ in the River Jordan. And his message is so powerful The 2,000 years after he delivered that message, one third of the world's population is still trying to live out to that message. So here's his one sentence message to the world. John the Baptist, he said, repent and believe the good news. So if you're a Christian, that's still what you're trying to do today, as have all of the other Christians in the past 2,000 years. What a powerful message to the world. Simple, precise, on point. It is something we heard and understood and have never forgotten. And we keep passing it on to the next generation. So here's another person I'd like you to meet. His name is John F. Kennedy. So to the millennials and to the Gen Zs, I'd like you to meet John F. Kennedy, one of the most popular presidents that the United States have ever had, and one of our recognized best world leaders. And on the day of his inauguration as President of the United States, he gave this message to his world. This is what he said. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. And you know what was the consequence of that single most powerful message to his world was? Hundreds of thousands of young Americans volunteered and signed up to become part of the United States Peace Corps. These young Americans left their homeland and traveled to various parts of the world, including Asia and Africa, to help out and to bring America's message of freedom and democracy to various parts of the globe. That's the magic, that's the power of a clearly heard, clearly understood, and an unforgettable message to the world. Now, I'm sure at this point you're saying, you may be saying this to yourself, but that's Marie Kondo. That's John the Baptist. That's John F. Kennedy. I am no John F. Kennedy. I am no Marie Kondo. Well, step on the brakes. Hold on for a while. Here's a very important fact. If only we would sit down for a while and think, you will discover, and I will show you in a little while how to do it, that you have a powerful statement to make in your world. And if you don't, some people or a lot of people would miss out on opportunities or face bigger risks. Now, just to prove that point, let me show you some powerful messages to the world that my participants in my webinars and in my workshops have shared with me. Now, let's see. A few weeks ago, I was on an online conversation with a friend who is in the real estate business. She's part of a group that's selling medium cost housing, single detached in Cavite. And the conversation came to the subject matter of, what's your message to the world? And this was what she shared with me. The one thing she wants everyone to hear from her is this: go and fulfill your dream. Go and fulfill your dream. So I asked her, what has that got to do with the real estate business? What has that got to do with you offering single detached affordable homes, mostly to families of overseas Filipino workers? And this was what she said. You know, people hold back on buying houses because they think they cannot afford it. But you know what I tell them, she said? I tell them that there is one thing you really cannot afford. You cannot afford not to fulfill your dream. So she's not just selling houses. What drives her is her message to the world, that everyone must take a step, a big, bold step to fulfill their dream. And she understood that to many Filipinos, especially families of overseas Filipino workers, the biggest dream is to have a house of their home, of their own, which they can call their home. That's her message to the world. And when she shows you models, when she brings you on a trip to the site, that's the message you will hear from her. Now, Several days ago, I was also interacting with a group of network marketing associates. And I asked them, and I asked one of them, why are you in this business? And from him, I heard his message to the world. He said, it is because spending time, quality time with my family is so important to me. So his message to the world, family first. And I asked him, where did that come from? And he told me very briefly the story of his childhood. He had a father whom he hardly saw because his father was involved in his work, and his work demanded much of his time. And this young man said, I don't want my children to feel the same way I felt about my father. I want my children to feel my presence, to experience my being there for them. And then I asked him the one last question. I asked, what does this have to do with your network marketing business? And he said, well, first of all, this is what fuels me. This is what drives me. This is what makes me passionate about my product and my business model. But more important, this is the idea that he offers and presents to his potential associates. He is attracting to himself people whose aspiration in life is defined by those two words, family first. And then I was talking to a financial advisor. I asked her, what really drives you? What makes you so passionate about financial advising profession? And this was what she told me. She said, most of the people she had met misunderstand or had not thought out clearly their priorities in life. And she said, I know the consequence of not knowing what really matters to you today and in the future. What would happen is you would not save, you would not invest, you would not put your money where it should be properly invested in. And so her message to the world is this: whether you are a young man starting out in life, or a family, or a person who has reached the point in your life where you simply want to share with others, her message is know what really matters. And that single message to the world allows her to help people use and invest their money wisely. So what's the lesson? Whatever your profession is, whatever you are doing right now, whatever industry you are in, it is so important that we are able to clearly define, draft, and convey your message to the world. Now, the next question is, where does the message come from? Now, at this point, let me make something very clear. Your message to the world is not a tagline. Your message to the world is not a sales pitch. Your message to the world is not something you put in an advertising statement. Now, taglines, slogans, that is something that other people do for you. You job it out, and an agency or a creative person drafts it for you, and then you try to own it. It's something external which you try to internalize. Now, your message to the world follows a different process. It is something that comes from you and must come from you. So how do you bring it out? How do you discover or uncover what your message to the world really is? Now look at this pyramid. And let's begin at the bottom. The first thing we do is to reflect on our journey in life. So whether you are 18 years old or 80 years old, you have had some journey in life. Now, based on that journey, you ask yourself this: in my 18 years or in my 80 years, what has been my most significant experience in life? Now, your most significant experience is something that had registered either the greatest pain or the greatest gain. So how do you define? How do you uncover which experience has been most significant for you? Well, It is that statement, it is that experience that has given you the most pain or presented you with the most gain. Now, after you have uncovered or discovered what that moment in your life is, you clearly define now, so what was the gain or what was the pain? The pain and the gain, when you distill it, when you look at it more objectively, that is now called lesson. Lesson. That's what you learn. That is what life taught you. So, the foundation of your message to the world is your life, what you went through, the pain and the gain, and what you learned from it. And then you pause and ask yourself this question. So, life has taught me many lessons, but what is the most important? Now, for that young network marketing executive, he said that the most important thing I learned in life is having quality time with your children. There is no substitute to being there for them. To that financial advisor, the most important lesson in life she learned is this, that you've got to know what really matters. And to that real estate professional, her most important lesson in life, you must go and fulfill your dream. So that's the lesson. How does it become a message? When you now find yourself ready to share it with the people who matter in your life and in your business, then the lesson is ready to become your message to the world. It is now ready to become your call to action. A call to action that is compelling, that defines you, and that integrates everything that you say and you do in life and in business. So that's how you discover your message to the world. Begin by looking back in your life, asking yourself, what has been my most significant experience in my 18 or 80-year-old journey? What were the gains? What were the pains? And so, from these pains and these gains, what has been my most important learning? Choose one. Choose one. And then when you feel that you are ready to share it with the people who matter to your life and to your business, that now becomes your call to action. That's your message. That's your message to your world. Now, so here's the process. 3 steps. Reflect, write, and test. Reflect, write, and test. So reflect is follow the pyramid that I showed you earlier. Look back in your life, most significant experience, what were the pains, what were the gains, and based on those, what has been the most important lesson life taught me? 1 sentence. And then, when you are ready to share it, and then write it down, and then let's go and test it. How do you know that it is really your most powerful message to the world? But first, let me show you how to write it. Okay, so that's what you reflect on. And then, based on that lesson, what do you want to tell the world? And then this is how you test it. So when you share it with others who matter to your life and to your business, ask yourself 3 things. When I say to the world, to my world, for example, and when I say my world, that consists of the people in your life and in your business who truly matter to you, ask yourself the first question. Is this meaningful to them? Okay, so your next question to me is, what do you really mean by meaningful? By meaningful, what I mean is your message to the world stands to impact several things in their lives. Now, let me share with you a few. A message is meaningful to you if it has something to do with your future. So that's the first. It is meaningful to you if it has something to do with your funds, your money, especially the money with which you feed your family or put food at your family's dinner table. Future, funds, and then your family. And then A message is meaningful to you if it has something to do with what you believe is your fulfillment. So, what's a meaningful message? When you say it, it impacts people's future, their funds or finances, their family, and their fulfillment. So people will listen to you and find your message meaningful if it has to do with future, with family, with their finances, or with their fulfillment. Now, here's the other test. So that meaningful message, is it memorable? Now, the third criterion helps you distill a message that is potentially memorable. It is memorizable. You yourself can memorize it and deliver it without overthinking. Short, precise, and carefully chosen words. It could be one word, it could be two phrases, but the test, it's memorable. It doesn't sound like anything I've heard before. And it's memorizable. You can memorize it, and those who hear it can store it in their mental data bank. That's how you test it. If it passes the three tests of meaningful, memorable, and memorizable, then you are ready to convey that message to the world. Okay, now, would you want to test some more? Okay, so ask yourself this question. When I convey the message, does it get my market or my publics to take action? Like for example, when your prospect in the network marketing business hears from you that the opportunity you present would help them put family first, would it get them to take action? Now, the uh, the message is also meaningful if it tells them who you are and what you stand for. So when they see you, they immediately recognize that this is the person who will help me fulfill my dream. And then, third test, it easily explains why you are so passionate about what you do. So when the network marketer tells me that here's a business opportunity I should look at, and he tells me that it's about putting family first, and I know immediately what this guy's passion is: helping people find time to spend in a quality way with the people who matter in their lives. Okay. Now people ask me, how about you, Archie? What's your message to the world? So I have a very simple message to the world. You are part of my world, and this is what I'd like to tell you. Be heard, be understood, be unforgettable. Be heard, be understood, be unforgettable. So let me tell you why I have chosen this to be my message to the world. Now, first of all, this is part of the most important lessons I have learned in life. Now, this is a product of pain. When I was 11 years old and I was in elementary school, my teachers said they had a problem with me. They said their problem with me was this: I talked too much. And you know what was the words I most often heard from them? Shut up, shut up. So most grown-ups, when I was just a little child, were telling me to shut up. And I was wondering why. It disturbed me and made me uncomfortable and made me angry to be made to shut up. And then later on in life, I discovered that it is so important that we must be heard. And I discovered that that was the reason for my pain and my anger, because I wanted to be heard. And then later on, when I was growing up and beginning to build my profession and my business, I discovered that a lot of people are heard but are not understood. And not being understood has terrible consequences. When not understood, a salesperson does not close a sale. When not understood, a giant entity will not be able to build a plant or a factory in a local community. When not understood, people within an organization will not be able to collaborate. So after being heard, we must be understood. And that's what I do, helping people, leaders in business and in politics and in church, be heard and be understood. But then I discovered there's a third very important element that our markets must see in us. It's unforgettability. It is not enough today, especially, that we are just heard and understood. We must be unforgettable. You see, in a world that is full of outstanding individuals and professionals, the ones that they will always remember is the standout, the one who's different, the one who's better, the one who cares. That's being unforgettable. So that's my message to the world. What has this message done for me and for my world, to the people who matter in my life and in my business? Well, it has helped me put together a lot of workshops and a lot of webinars, and I'm now writing books. And when you look at them, they have only one theme. There's one theme that unites everything that I say and everything that I do. For my clients, for my customers, for my mentees, and for the people whom I coach. Just one: being heard, being understood, and being unforgettable. Especially today when we are now doing a lot of our business online, here's a very important consequence of being heard, understood, and unforgettable. What happens is we are preferred and we are referred. That's what we want to happen to you if you are an entrepreneur or you are a professional. Being preferred, and when because you are remembered and people know exactly what you stand for, what value and solution you bring, they tell others about you. That's how you thrive. That's how you prosper. So the last question is this: who do I go and tell and share my message to the world? Well, three aspects of your world. So the first is your markets and your publics. Tell them so that they know exactly what you stand for and what value and solution you bring to their lives or to their business. So your markets and your publics. Make sure your business allies understand your message to the world so that they would know exactly how they can sync with you, how they can work with you and create and offer value and solutions to the wider world, to your shared markets, based on the value that you bring. Now, you should also tell your partners in mission. Now, there's a beauty in telling your allies and your partners in mission what your message to the world is. You might discover you have the same message to the world. And you know what that results into? It results for powerful business alliances. That's my business model. I work with very young enterprising men who shares with me the same message to the world. Two of my partners have helped me build that business in the offline world because we share the same message to the world. And now, when today I am building that same powerful business model in the online world, partnering with another enterprising young genius whose message to the world is the same. He says, I am using technology so that subject matter experts can be heard, can be understood, and can become unforgettable. And when people are ready to buy, they are preferred and they are referred. But you know, there's one other person who should hear your message to the world. And you know who that is? That is you. At the end of the day, you are the person who is the most important audience of your message to the world. Why? Let me explain. First, it reminds you of what you have been through in life. It reminds you that you are a winner. You know why you are a winner? Because you made all of those difficulties you went through become a lesson, and not just a lesson for yourself, but now you have transformed it into a powerful message. Number two, You know where your passion and your fuel is coming from, life itself. And number three, it tells you where your passion is anchored on. When your message to the world is clear, it integrates everything that you do, it tells the world who you are, and it fuels you. So go, discover, write, and convey your message to the world. Whoever you are, no matter what you're doing today, no matter how old you are, you already have one. It's just a matter of taking time to reflect, drafting it, and testing it. So when we meet again, my next offering to you will be a 12-minute presentation on finding your bounce. At this point, we are all looking at bouncing back. Some are inviting us to bounce forward. So whether you are bouncing forward or bouncing back, I invite you to join me in a 12-minute reflection on finding your bounce. I hope you found today's session useful. Thank you.